Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome out to Noble Hill Baptist Church. Beautiful, sunny, warmer March morning out there. Lost an hour's sleep. Everybody okay with that? No. Really doesn't matter, does it? Because we did it. Anyway, and all the good folk are here that set their... Oh, wait a minute. Some of us just forgot. But they're here anyway. Yes, that's right. So... Pastor Mark is in Daniel 3, I believe, today. Is that correct? Awesome. And we all know the story at the beginning there, or in the middle. Actually, I guess there's only about 30 verses in that chapter. But the fiery furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? Everybody knows that story, right? So there was an old song. There's an old song that... It's kind of a fun song. It's not really a worship song. It's not really a sing-along song. It's more of a talking song. And we used to travel when I was a kid. We used to do music at churches and such. And so as a little kid, this was kind of a novelty act. You know, Dad would get up there and he'd muff the words up, and then they'd have the little kid, which was me, come up and do it right. Now, whether he did it on purpose or not, I don't know. I think he just got tongue-tied. So, y'all know him, right? Sorry. Anyway, so there is a old Statler Brothers song that is called The Fourth Man. And I thought it would be... Is this working, Paul, my guitar? Doesn't sound like there's anything coming through out there. Nothing? No green lights. Anyway, all right, well, I'll sing softer, play louder. It's called The Fourth Man, and it's kind of a tongue twister song. But anyway, Statler Brothers did this song, and I thought it would be kind of fun just to kind of do this song this morning to get things started for the message this morning. So stand up, and I'm going to need your hands to kind of go together just to kind of keep rhythm this morning. You don't have to sing along. You can if you want. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't going to work. Oh, there's too many words up there for me to try to figure out what they are when they're just kind of all jumbled together. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. Put your hands together for me, would you? Here is a story from the good book we know, a story about a miracle that happened long ago. We hope that you'll take courage when temptation you meet. There's somebody watching you who's strong when you're weak. You wouldn't bend, they would not kneel to the God, so we are told. They wouldn't bow, they would not bow the knees to the idol made of gold. They wouldn't burn, they were protected by the fourth man in the fire. They wouldn't bend, they wouldn't bow, they wouldn't burn. Now the prophet Daniel tells about three men who walked with God. There's Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, for the wicked king they stood. And the king commanded them bound, thrown in the fire furnace that day. But the fire was so hot that the men were slain, and it forced them on their way. Now when the king cast in the king's awful fate, he began to tremble at what he saw, and astonished tones he spake. Did we not cast three men bound into the midst of that fire? But oh, I see four men unhurt and bound and walking down there. There's Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego on the way they trod, and the form of the fourth man that I see is like the Son of God. Okay, so he was probably 10 to 15 years younger than I am right now when we used to do this song. So we used to go back and we used to do that last little verse there again because that's the tongue twister right there. So we're going to try that one more time. Now when the three were cast in, no, we're going to try it one more time. Now when the three were cast in and the king arose to witness this awful fate, he began to tremble at what he saw, and astonished tones he spake. Did we not cast three men bound into the midst of that fire? For lo, I see four men unhurt, unbound, and walking down there. There's Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, in the fiery coals they trod. And the form of the fourth man that I see is like the Son of God. They wouldn't bend, they held on to the will of God, so we are told. They wouldn't bow, they would not bow the knees to the idol made of gold. They wouldn't burn, they were protected by the fourth man in the fire. They wouldn't bend, they wouldn't bow. Oh, you got it now, sing along. They wouldn't bend, they held on to the will of God, so we are told. They wouldn't bow, they would be... There you go. They wouldn't burn, they were protected by the fourth man in the fire. They wouldn't bend, they wouldn't bow, they wouldn't burn. One more time. They wouldn't bend, they held on to the will of God, so we are told. They wouldn't bow, they would not bow the knees to the idol made of gold. They wouldn't burn, they were protected by the fourth man in the fire. They wouldn't bend, they wouldn't bow, they wouldn't burn. They wouldn't bend, they wouldn't bow, they wouldn't burn. One more. They wouldn't bend, they wouldn't bow, they wouldn't burn. Just kind of a little fun song.
That is a fun song. And we did it. They did it. Congratulations. You did it. Hey, I do want to say a big thanks to Ron. Wasn't that fun? But he's pulled all this off by himself today, but he was also the main contact. Did you see our new drive-up ceiling out there? Isn't that good? Ron is the one who orchestrated that to get done like that, and thank you very, very much. It's a great thing out there. Good morning. Yeah? Did you get here for the service you thought you were getting here for? It's all right. You know, this is the early morning service. Hey, it is nice to feel like it's spring a little bit, but there's a lot of sickness hit your house. It is at my house, one person at a time is really bad with flu or something, and so rather than just shake everybody's hand in here, just look at somebody and just give them a little good morning. Yeah, good morning. There you go. That's that qualifies as a good, loving handshake and hug today. That's good. That's good. Well, we are going to be in Daniel 3, as Ron mentioned. I'm excited about that. What an important and powerful chapter in the Word of God. One of the most pivotal chapters, and we're gonna break that down and learn a little bit from there. Let's invite God to join us. Lord, today we are thankful for your Word and how even though it is a familiar, simple story, there is so much there that's applicable to our life today. Help us to trust you no matter what the threat is, no matter what the intimidation is, no matter who is making the threat against us, to stand strong for you. Lord, thank you for this church, these folks. Lord, we do pray. There are some that are sick, some that are dealing with cancer, some that are dealing with the flu. God, I pray for even our world right now, just this whole coronavirus and what it's affecting around the world, but even closer to home, what it's about to do here in the States. God, we truly pray for healing. We pray for just peace and for calmness as everybody deals with this. God, bless our time now. Bless your word in a powerful way today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, let's continue worshiping this morning. Let's just welcome his presence. Let our praise be welcome. Let our songs be your sign. We are here for you. We are here for you. Let your breath come from heaven. Fill our hearts with your light. We are here for you. We are here for you. To you, our hearts are open. To you, our hearts are open. Nothing near is hidden. You are our one desire. You alone are holy. Only you are worthy. God, let your fire fall down. Let us shout be your anthem. Let our shout be your anthem. Your renown let your word move in power. Let what's dead come to life. We are here for you, oh Lord. We are here for you. To you our hearts are open, nothing here is hidden. You are our one desire. You alone are holy, only you are worthy. God, let your fire fall down. Sing that again. To you our hearts are open, nothing here is hidden. You are our one desire. You alone are holy, only you are worthy. God, let your fire fall down. Oh, let it fall down. We welcome you, Lord. We welcome you with praise. We welcome you with praise. Almighty God of love, be welcome in this place. Let every heart adore, let every soul awake. Almighty God of love, be welcome in this place. We welcome you with praise. We welcome you with praise. Sing it out. Oh. Let every heart adore, let every soul awake. Almighty God of love, be welcome in this place. Your presence is heaven to me. Lord, your presence is heaven to me. Sing that again, your presence. Lord, your presence is heaven to me. Lord, your presence is heaven to me. It's heaven to me, God. Now we're singing, oh Jesus, oh Jesus. Your presence is heaven to me, oh Jesus, oh Jesus. Your presence is heaven to me. All my days on earth I will await the moment that I see you face to face. For nothing in this world can satisfy. And Jesus, you're the cup that won't run dry. You believe that this morning? Sing that again. And Jesus, you're the cup that won't run dry. Oh, you'll never run dry. Lord, your presence is heaven to me. Lord, your presence is heaven to me. Now sing that again, your presence. Lord, your presence is heaven to me. Lord, your presence is heaven to me. It's heaven to me, God. Now we're singing, oh Jesus, oh Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, your presence is heaven to me. How I long to be in your presence. It is the sacred place. We offer up our praise. We come boldly with honor and reverence. We worship Christ our King right here in His presence. I'll sing that again. How I long to be in your presence. It is the sacred place. We offer up our praise. We come boldly with honor and reverence. We worship Christ our King right here in His presence. We worship you. We worship you, our King, right here in your presence. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle work, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Oh, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Can we do that again? Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. It's who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are.
If I could have our ushers come.
That is who you are.
No matter what goes on in your life, I trust that you know the waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in a world of darkness. He's there through it all, in it all, for it all. Lord, we pray today and we thank you for an opportunity to worship you through our giving. As seen out front of our building, great things happen when we are just faithfully giving back to you. And Lord, all over this world right now, there are missionaries, either having already had a service or getting ready to have a service, and we pray for them as well. And because of our gifts today, we can help them to share the gospel with people that have never even heard the name Jesus. Bless this offering in Jesus' name.
I've questioned certain circumstances, things I could not understand. Oh, and many times in trials, my weakness blurs my vision. That's when my frustration gets so out of hand. Oh, but it's then I am reminded I've never been forsaken. I've never had to stand the test alone. Oh, when I look at all the victories, the Spirit rises up in me, and it's through the fire my weakness is made strong. Oh, He never promised that the cross would not get heavy and the hill would not be hard to climb. Oh, He never offered our victories without fighting, but He said it would always come in time. So just remember when you're standing in the valley of decision and the adversary says, give it, just hold on. Our Lord will show up, yes He will, and He will take you through the fire again. Oh, I know within myself that I would surely perish, but if if I trust the mighty hand of God, He'll shield the flames again, again. He never promised that the cross would not get heavy and the hill would not be hard to climb. Oh, He never offered our victories without fighting, but He said it would always come in time. Oh, and just remember when you're standing in the valley of decision and the adversary says give in, just hold on. Our Lord will show, and He will take you through the fire again. Just hold on. Our Lord will show, yes He will, and He will take you through the fire again. Oh, yes He will. He's gonna take you through the fire again. Oh yeah, He's gonna take you through the fire again. He will take you through the fire again.
Thank you, Ron. Daniel chapter 3. This is one of your favorite memories from childhood Sunday school or someplace where you heard Bible stories as a child. One of the classic stories when you start talking about favorite parts of the Bible or remember some old stories, or this is one of them. It's exciting to get to come to a chapter like this, and it kind of teaches itself a little bit. And some of you could probably tell this story better than me. A key to this passage are some words to King Nebuchadnezzar. The three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, are challenged to do something, and they say, "We're not going to do that." And then Nebuchadnezzar says, "Well, then you're going to die." And they said, "Either way, it's okay. We can live here, or we can go to be with God. Either way, we're away from you. And it's okay. Either way, it's okay." So that's our key thought today. So no matter what happens, that's what I want you to get today. Either way, it's okay. And sometimes it's more than just a cool phrase. There's going to be a time in your life when you're going to have to really accept that. So He may answer something your way when you pray for it, or He may answer it His way, which is different than your plans. But either way, it's okay. So in Daniel chapter 3, we're going to walk through this in different scenes. These take place, and you see different things. And so the first scene is this. The first scene is a scene of idolatry. Scene 1 is idolatry. This story begins with a golden image. And as we talked about last week, do you remember who is at the top of the statue in his dream? Do you remember what it was made of? Okay? He is told that he is representing this gold head and this gold part of the statue. King Nebuchadnezzar had been told he was the greatest leader, and he's represented here by this gold head. So here's what we find. So chapter 3, verse 1 says, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. So just recently, in the last few years, there was a discovery made. The archaeologists, they keep confirming the Bible. And there's a lot of accusations made about, well, this never happened, there's no proof of this. Over the last 100 years, archaeologists have disproved so many of those people that are claiming the Bible isn't true. So in the last few years, they believe that they have found this place. They haven't found the statue, but they think that the plain of Dura is outside, just outside of the modern-day city of Baghdad, which makes sense. And they found what they think is the base for this statue. Some think this statue is probably about 90 feet tall. That's pretty high. That's a huge statue. 9 feet wide and solid gold, perhaps. Others think that it had a large base and that it just held a statue on it. Something, I remember being taught in Sunday school that this was an image of Nebuchadnezzar, right? It could have been, but we're not told that. Okay, when you go back and read it, it just says there was an image. We really don't know. But we do know a golden image was set up, this huge golden image. So, verse 2, and King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So he calls everybody. He has all these important people. He calls them all, everybody that worked for him, every place, all over the place. You have to come. You have to see this image. They had to go out and physically tell everybody. They couldn't text anybody back then. They couldn't email anybody back then. They couldn't Facebook everybody back then. So they had to personally go and tell everybody, y'all have to come. Everybody has to come. Come on. Everybody has to come to this image. And then, verse 3. So the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages." So here comes the little instruction. You're all here. It's now commanded. Verse 4, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up." So they are given instruction. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. This would have their attention. Oh, really? I got time. I got work to do. And if you don't, you'll be thrown in a burning fire furnace. Oh, okay. I'll be right there. Yeah, no problem. No problem. And so all these people now are there, and Nebuchadnezzar was a king known for keeping his word. He said something, and he carried it out. And he also was known for, remember, he was a wicked, wicked, wicked man. It didn't bother him in the slightest to torture people and to kill them in front of their family. And so they're told, you come to this place, when you hear the music, you fall down and you worship this image. If not, you will be thrown into a fiery furnace. So some have suggested that this fiery furnace was probably a large metal room built into the side of a hill. And they would use it for a lot of different purposes. Had a door on the side, a big door on the side, and a big opening in the top. This would allow that room, when they were melting something or burning something, to have a draft go through it. That would just increase the heat all the more. It was probably located fairly near the palace, and was most likely, given the size of this thing and given what it was meant to do, this is probably where the image was made. Makes it a little more significant, doesn't it? That's probably where they made the image that they have to bow down to. So, scene 1, is idolatry. There's an idol that they are being forced to bow down and worship to. Scene 2 is irritation. Irritation. Here we find a picture of jealousy and irritation from those about some others. Look at verse 7 and 8. So at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, and lyre in symphony with all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the gold image which Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Therefore, verse 8, at that time certain Chaldeans came forward and accused the Jews. Remember chapter 1? Daniel and his friends were better than all the rest. That probably didn't sit too well, did it, with the rest of the smart, wise men there. They got promoted. Last week we looked in chapter 2, and as a result of Daniel interpreting the dream, Daniel got a big promotion, and so did Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So just imagine how the rest of that community thinks about these guys. They're a little bit irritated with them, aren't they? So these native Babylonian guys, they don't like these Jewish people coming in and getting the promotions and being in charge of things. They see their chance to go tell the king. They're big whiny babies, right? So look at verse 9. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all the kinds of music shall fall down and worship the gold image. And whoever, remember, king, you said this, and whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. You said it, king. You said this, right? Remember? You said this, king, right? Verse 12. And then you have to hear their whiny voice. King, we bow down because, we honor and worship you. But there are guys, king, you just need to know there are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up. King, I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but we really, they're not bowing down. They're just thought you should know. They're tattletales. And could it be that they have been part of this whole process to set this up? Because they know they're not going to bow down. They know this. Whiny, they're weak. Probably all work with people like this. They can't wait to tell on you so that they can get the promotion, so that they can get the job that you got, so that... Scene 3 is insanity. Insanity. Verse 13 and 14. Then, because he heard this, and because there was opposition to this, and because of who he is, Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. He is angry and upset. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? King freaks out, which is not unusual for him. In fact, we're going to see next in chapter 4 how he really freaks out. He says, what part of bow down and worship when you hear the music didn't you understand? That's not a hard thing, okay? It's a simple thing. Maybe we misunderstood. Maybe we didn't see you. That's it, right. It's just a misunderstanding. Do you understand now? You got it? I gave clear instructions. Did I tell anybody they could opt out? Did I? No. It was very clear. I said to do this. Now you're going to do this. You got this? Verse 15 says, Now, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good, with an exclamation point. Good. That's good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? He's talking pretty big, isn't he? He says, if you do this, that's good, guys. That's what we want. We'll all get along. We'll have lunch. It's all over. But if you don't, you're going to be thrown into the furnace. And he says, and he adds this, and what God's going to deliver you? He's forgetting something, isn't he? He's forgetting what happened in Daniel chapter 1 and Daniel chapter 2. So here's a couple of questions, okay, while we're on this point. Here's a couple of questions. Why is he forgetting what happened before? He knows the God of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego delivered them. He knows that, right? He knows that Daniel is smarter and better than all the rest. But where was Daniel? So why is he forgetting this, and where is Daniel? First of all, Daniel was appointed over regions of the Babylonian Empire. It's obvious Daniel is not here. So for however long, Daniel may have been in another, in fact, we'll see later on, Daniel was probably overseeing a large portion of the kingdom someplace else. He's in another location when this takes place. Second, there's a good chance that chapter 3 takes place 10 to 20 years after chapter 2. Okay? So in our world, we just read chapter 2 last week. How can he forget, right? But 10 years, 20 years from now, can you remember? You can't remember on Tuesday what I preached on Sunday. Let alone 10 to 20 years ago, right? How's he? It's very possible that he's moved on and he got caught up in all this. And it's a long time for this evil, arrogant king to worry about, think about, remember what happened a decade or more ago. So we go through this time of insanity. He is just furious. You ever meet somebody that gets so angry that you can't even talk to them? They are not thinking right. They're saying things. They're just so angry. So then we see in scene 4, integrity. Here comes the good guys. I remember being taught how to remember their names. This is back in junior church. When I was growing up, my children's church leader taught us Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Shake a bed, make a bed, and into bed you go. You remember? So here we go. Ready? Verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter." Nebuchadnezzar said, if you respond and you bow down, good. If not, you're going to be thrown in the fire furnace. Now, you need to go think about it, because next time we play the music, and they're like, no, whoa, wait. We don't need to go think about it. There's no question here. Did we give you something that makes you think that we might change our mind? Did we do that, guy? No. The NIV says, we do not need to go and defend ourselves. They say, King, you don't need to go through this again. You don't need to call the band together. We'll give you our answer right now. And no problem. This is an easy one. If the choice is either to bow down to the idol or to burn, let's get it on. Ain't no problem. This is our answer. We're not going to wait until tomorrow. Let's do it right now. If the choice is to deny or to die, put us in the die category. Let's go. Go and throw us in. Ain't no problem here. Verse 17, he says, if that is the case, these guys say, our God, capital G, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. They said, look, If he delivers us and we're still here, okay, that's good. But even if we burn up, he's delivering us from you. We're good with that. He said, but if not, verse 18, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. It's a great, great response. Contrasting clash of what's going on here. What God can deliver you, our God can. We believe that our God can. So these guys walk into the palace and they're set. They know they're about to be threatened with their life, and they're like, either way, it's okay. It don't matter to us. Their eyes are fixed. Their minds are made up. There's no negotiation. They're going to take a stand against what is wrong. I love these guys. No hesitation. No conferring. This is wrong, and they aren't even going to consider any kind of compromise. They said, either way, it's okay. We need to look at life like that. No matter what is threatening you, no matter who is threatening you, no matter what they say or what they do or what is happening in life, either way, it's okay. Scene 5 is intensity. Intensity. Verse 19 says, then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, right? Of course he was. He was a crazy, angry man. He was full of fury. And the expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain men of valor, the Green Berets, who were in his army, to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They grab the guys, they handcuff them, they tie them up, they take them away, they get to the fiery furnace. And there's probably, a lot of people think, there's a hole on the top, and from the hill that it was built into, they bring these guys out. And the fire is so intense, flames are coming out so intense, that the guys bringing them out die. They're killed. These tough guys. Well, what an intense moment. Everybody is watching. These guys probably helped make the golden image. They helped build the fire. They worshiped the false idol. But you know why these guys lost their life? It's because they were serving an evil king. They gave their allegiance to an evil king. If you serve a wicked ruler, you're going to get the fallout of God's judgment. That's what happened. Intensity. These 3 men, verse 23, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Somehow they get in there, whether it's through the hole in the top or the front door. We're not sure, but it sounds like they were pushed in. They fell bound. They fell down while they were bound. So they're in the midst of this burning fiery furnace, huge flames all around them. It's hard to describe. I don't know if any of you have ever been burned or been through. I was a fireman. We were public safety officers. And it's exciting to be a fireman when there's a fire. You go in there and you rescue things. And I've been in a couple big fires. We had a couple big factory fires. I was the first one in on one of those one time, and you go in and you go into a house fire and smoke. Just, if you've ever been in a fire, a room with a fire, smoke starts at the top, and it just starts, but you can't see your hand in front of your face. It's just black. The scariest thing is you're in the middle of a house that you don't know where you're at. Flames are all around you. You can't see a thing. You have to start. Being burned is one of the worst pain you can feel. They're going into this situation. People are watching. The whole crowd is out there watching this. Scene 6 is indescribable. Indescribable. Verse 24, then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished. He's watching this. And he rose in haste, so he's probably sitting on a throne nearby. He got up, and he quickly went over to where he could see better, and he spoke, saying to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, true, O king. Verse 25, look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. There's a bunch of miracles taking place here. This is one of the most powerful scenes in all of the Bible. There's a miracle that they're loose and they're walking around. Remember, they were all tied up when they were thrown in there. This is a miracle that they're in a fire, but they're not burning up. I see them, they're loose. I see them that they're not burning up. But the biggest miracle of all is they're not alone. How many did we throw in? How many are in there? 4. Can you imagine those guys inside this room of fire? Hey, we're not tied up anymore. Hey, we're not burning up. And then one of them says, hey, who's that? Hey, I'm Shadrach. This is my friend, Meshach and Abednego. And you are... What an indescribable scene. They're walking around. I hope they had built in maybe some vents or something in the side so they could walk around and look out. Everybody. They're walking around. They probably are singing their favorite worship song. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns. The form of the 4th is like the Son of God. We need to always remember this. Jesus is God. He's part of the Trinity. He always has been. He always will be. Before he was a baby in Bethlehem, and this is where a lot of theology gets off in different areas, Jesus always was. The Word, John says, was in the beginning. He appears several times in the Old Testament. These are called pre-incarnate appearances or Christophanies. And based on other scenes, it appears, I think it's pretty obvious that Jesus Christ himself is with them. It's not just an angel sent there to protect them. He is there in the most difficult moment of their life. It's a great lesson to us. So let me finish these verses and then we'll wrap this up. Verse 26 says, then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel, capital A. Okay, that they're believing that this is the Lord's angel, which is in a pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus, and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore, verse 29, I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. God delivers. So let me summarize this in this way. 5 important principles of standing strong. If you're going to stand strong for God, you're going to go through some things. Number 1, if your faith is real, your future is certain. And if you follow God, you are going to go through times of conflict. These guys lived for God every day. They really were close to him. And it should tell us something, that of the hundreds that were taken captive, we only know 4 names. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They have lives that clearly live for God, and they made choices with that. They worshiped. But when you live out your faith, you're going to have conflict with this world. We're told we're just strangers here. We're just passing through. We don't like this. We just want to live a calm, quiet, peaceful life. So did Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So did Paul. So did Peter. But God says, if you live for me no matter what, I will be with you through it all, because you're going to have trouble in this world. Number 2. When your upside goes downside, your inside goes outside. That's good scripture right there, right? That's a good. The key to this is confirmation. You find out what is really inside a person, what is really in a person's heart when they go through a difficult time. Anyone can trust God when things are good, but when life goes bad, when your upside goes downside and your inside goes outside, when this happens, it's really going to confirm what's really in your heart. When you go through that difficult time, we don't know by looking at each other where our heart really is, but when you go through some trouble, then you find out what your heart is really like. You may be in that season right now. You may be going through that difficulty right now. Confirmation of who we really are comes out in a time of crisis. Number 3, God is able, but God is not obligated. This is one of the hardest things for us to trust, for us to believe. God is able, but God is not obligated, and this is a time of confusion. They said in verse 17, our God is able. They believe that, yes, God can do it all, but he's not obligated to. He does not have to do everything we tell him or everything that we want to do. No, we're going to trust him no matter what. Either way, it's okay. We say God can heal my wife. God can heal my mom. God can heal my child. So he better, or he's a bad God. Isn't that what we kind of tend towards? God can give me a better job. God can save my parents, so why doesn't he? God can bring my son back, so why doesn't he? We like for God to do what we want him to do. And we want him to do it when we want him to do it. Let me give you a couple of subpoints underneath this thought. They recognized God's will might be different than their own. Sometimes we don't give God that option. We just tell God what has to be done. They recognized God's will might be different than their own. Do you think they wanted to get thrown into the fire? Of course not. But they recognized that God's will might be different than their own. And get this, they were willing to do that without complaining. They said right up front, our God can take care of us, no problem. And the king said, yeah, well, what if he doesn't? And they said, no problem. Either way. That's okay. The second thought is this: they didn't make their obedience contingent on God doing what they wanted. So when you pray to God and you say, God, you need to do this or I'm done, I'm not following you anymore, is that really the right way to look at things? That's not how they looked at it. They were ready to obey God whether He delivered them or not. They found God Himself is the object of their affection, not what He could do for them. You got that? That's so very different than what a lot of churches and prosperity theology teach. God, I will trust you as long as you give me back tenfold of my seed faith gift. They trusted God even if they lost their life. Will you still love God if He doesn't answer your prayers? Will you still love God if He doesn't heal? If He doesn't bring back a prodigal child? If you never get that big bonus, will you still love God? Principle number 4 is this: stand for Jesus, and Jesus will stand for you. The key is confidence. You can be sure if you stand for Jesus, He will stand for you. He will be there with you. He will support you. Here's an interesting thought. God knew that He was going to deliver them, didn't He? So why didn't He just deliver them right there? They're standing in front of Nebuchadnezzar. Why didn't God just send a big lightning bolt and zap somebody? Why didn't He just send a lightning bolt and blow up the fiery furnace right in front of them? Blow up the image right in front of them? Why didn't He do that? If God knew He was going to deliver them, why did He let them get thrown in the fiery furnace? Why does He let you go through the fiery furnace sometimes? Imagine how hard this must have been for them. It's easy for us. We know how the story turns out, right? Can you imagine being the one standing there being threatened to get thrown in? They didn't know how the story was going to turn out. They're strong throughout the story, but can you imagine being bound up and walked over? You know how loud a fire can get? It's probably extremely loud, roaring. Can you just try to imagine what's going through their mind? Why did God allow it to get this far? Think about this. By allowing their deliverance to be delayed, the impact on everybody who was there was greater, including you and me, and everybody down through the centuries that now know this story. The impact upon Nebuchadnezzar, the impact upon everyone watching, the impact upon those three was much greater. So just know, some of you might be going through a fiery furnace right now. God is going to deliver you, but it may not happen today. It may not happen this week. It may not happen this month. It may not happen this year. We want it over now, but God has a plan in place. When God delays, it doesn't mean He doesn't love us. I want you to understand this. Get this. The more often God allows us to go through a trial and face the fire, then He chooses to deliver us from it. We will go through more fires than we get delivered from. It's simply the truth while we're here on this earth. The last thought is this: give it all or don't give at all. And that has to do with commitment. These young men, they lived for God all out. There was no question in their life. Give it all or don't give at all. They gave their entire life no matter what. So I had to go back a bunch of years and find some files and notes, and found that I preached through this passage on October the 7th of 2007. I preached that passage, and man, I was just so challenging. Our church was just growing, and it was full, and I stand up in front of the whole crowd telling them, either way, it's okay, and they loved it. Oh, either way, it's okay, yeah. A lot of people were going through some difficult times, and it just meant a lot. And it just a couple weeks prior to that, I started having some pains in my lower right stomach area. The church went great that day. Everybody loved that. That Tuesday, we were pouring some concrete out in our parking lot. And of course, I had to be out there doing everything with them. You know, we were doing a bunch of stuff, and I helped them all day. I still tell all these young guys that were out there working with this concrete that even when I was going through appendicitis, I outworked them all, right? That's because I had to do it. So the pain got pretty intense that night, and so I told Barb, I probably need to go get this checked out. So we went to an emergency room in Akron, Ohio. They did this CAT scan, and it revealed that I had appendicitis and that it needed to come out. So that night, I had an appendectomy. So I was out the next Sunday, and the following week, a week later, I went in for a follow-up with my surgeon, with the surgeon to do check everything out. And this is how this doctor walked into the room. You know, you sit in the rooms waiting for doctors to come. It's like they have 2 or 3 waiting rooms, because you go from one waiting room and you wait in another room, and you know what I'm saying? So I'm waiting in this room, and all of a sudden this doctor, you can hear him pull the file from the front of the door, start looking at it. He comes walking in, and he sticks out his hand to shake my hand. And he says this. He says, I am sorry to tell you this, but you have cancer. And you're going to need more surgery, and I'm not on your insurance, so how do you want to handle that? Huh? Can we back up? You said the first sentences you said, can we back up? And he just kind of said, yeah, let me tell you. So he filled me in. And he said a biopsy of my appendix revealed a cancerous tumor. In my appendix was the cause of it all. And he told me what it was. He told me how seriously and aggressively I needed to get this treated right now. And I just thought, at first, well, okay. I mean, we'll go get it, just take care of it, right? And as I was leaving, the nurse looked at me, and she grabbed my arm, and she said, good luck. Well, okay. So I came home, and I talked to Barb, and we thought through it all, finding out that, of course, he wasn't on my insurance, so I need to find somebody that was. Well, thankfully, the Cleveland Clinic was. We were 40 minutes away from the Cleveland Clinic. World-renowned place. So she got me an appointment there that week. So this week, I mean this is how crazy this stuff has come back to hit me. So this week on the news, every week they show clips of some health clips from doctors, and quite often they're from the Cleveland Clinic. If you've ever seen Channel 3 News or whatever you watch, this health clip from Channel 3 News is on, and they're featuring a guy from the Cleveland Clinic. So this past Tuesday, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and this guy comes on our television at home. This is Dr. Matt Kalady. That's my doctor. I said, Barb, look. He's had his hands in me. That guy, this is my surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic. We meet with him, and he lays it all out. He's on TV here talking about cancer, colon cancer. But immediately there are some things that just I get these sick feelings just thinking about it and knowing. I see him, and so here's what I met with the doctor, and he tells me that, and we began learning about what I was diagnosed with, but the following Sunday I had to stand before our church in Medina, Ohio. Two weeks before this, I was like, either way, it's okay, right? You're going to be, you got to trust God. You got to trust God. And I had to stand in front of them and tell them I wanted to go through it without telling anybody. That's just, I don't like that kind of tension. I had to tell them about my cancer, and honestly, the reality of what I had did not look good. 80% of what I had don't make it 5 years. Thankfully, everything went very well, and I'm here and healthy and clean. But I had to stand up and in tears just tell them, either way, it's okay. So that's the challenge to us today. Some of you might be threatened with a fiery furnace. Some of you might be in the midst of a fiery furnace. And if you're not there in the future, you're going to face a fiery furnace. Are you ready to say, either way, it's okay? Let's pray together. Maybe this morning it would help you to pray for something. Maybe you are in the midst of a fiery furnace today. Maybe someone you love is going through a fiery furnace today. Maybe we just take just a minute here and take some things to God. If God answers and delivers me, great. If He doesn't, either way, it's okay. What are you facing today? You cannot face a fiery furnace without that fourth man. And our prayer, our hope and prayer is that you know Him. And maybe you've thought you did. Maybe you have all your life just kind of thought that, but maybe today you look and see and realize, really don't. Maybe you are going through something today, facing a fiery furnace. Somebody you love is going through a fiery furnace. But let's take a minute today. Maybe you'd like to come and pray this morning and just lift somebody up to God. What's on your heart? Would you like for us to pray with you or for you? We will do that. Whatever your need is. Let's stand together, all right? If you'd like to take a moment and come and pray today, as Ron plays, I invite you. We can pray with you about something. I invite you. Whatever your need is, why don't we take this time and respond to God? If you need to pray right where you're at, that's fine. Let's just talk to God right now. If you'd like to come, go ahead.